Zombie apocalypse.
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. This is 6 Scale Economist. In today's video, we're talking about the Black Widow from Endgame, which is releasing now. As always, first we're going to talk about this from a collection perspective, and then we're going to talk about it from an investment perspective. All right, let's just start off with this. Can you feel the tide shifting? I feel like this figure, along with the other figures that we've seen, like coming out from Endgame, like the Marvel is feeling a resurgence, and I think that this is an important turning point to try and capitalize on for a variety of reasons for Marvel figures in your collection and for Marvel figures that are starting to come out now for Endgame. But we're going to talk about that in the back half of the video. First, let's just take a look and focus on Black Widow from a collector perspective. So obviously this figure was announced a good bit ago. It's people are starting to pick it up now. This is the Black Widow to have. I don't have a Black Widow in my collection. I really just couldn't do the rooted hair, the rooted hair before. But now that they've finally given us sculpted hair, and like the portrait is like it's pretty good for Scarlett Johansson, I'd say. Definitely way better than the other ones that we've had. I feel like this is the one to have. Was not a fan of the other ones. It was just like a little bit too like Barbie dollish for me. So I never picked those up. But like this one, I think that they basically got it as good as they can get. The material on the suit looks like very nice and like very posable, and then it's really the sculpted hair that's really pushing me on this figure. I mean, she looks awesome. Like great accessories. Like if there's a Scarlett Johansson that you need to have in your, if there's a Black Widow that you need to have in your collection, I feel like this has to be it, right? Like I don't know how much better you're going to get with this. The head sculpt is not perfect. I do think it's very good though, but this is the thing I've alluded to in some of my other videos. It's harder to get like attractive people. It's harder to get their head sculpts perfectly right. That's why Hot Toys is so good at like getting like all of like the old people and aliens and whatnot. But like when it comes to like people like this, or Carrie Fisher for Leia or Mark Hamill for Luke, like they sometimes like miss the mark, and they can never get it totally right. And I don't think they got it totally right on this one, but I definitely think that it's more than good enough to to add to your collection if you need a Black Widow for your collection. Taking a look at everything she comes with them, I like her accessories. I think it's like fair. You get like the two baton things, a couple of guns, a couple of hands, the display base, which I still, again, not a huge fan of Marvel display bases, but it is what it is. I just think they're kind of small. But like, I don't know what else if you were waiting for like a Black Widow to pick up, like I think that now is the time to pick up this Black Widow. And if you're like looking to lean in on expanding your Marvel collection, this is probably a good time to, because a lot of these Endgame figures are probably going to be the pinnacle figure of the character that you'd want in your collection. Like it's what I've talked about in my other videos, right? Like Captain America, like Endgame Captain America, I think that is the Captain America you have in your collection. This Black Widow is probably going to be a similar thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a couple of these instances. Same thing with Hawkeye. I think like that's the Hawkeye to have in your collection. Like Endgame, they're giving you Hot Toys is giving you a lot of opportunities with these Endgame figures, to have that one version in your collection. If you are only looking to pick up one and only want one in your collection, like this is probably a good time to lean in. And let's just now let's just jump right into it from an investment perspective. Let's start by saying this is we are in now an important time in Marvel Hot Toy era, where I think you can kind of like put yourself to a decision. So a lot of people have been selling their Marvel figures and like swapping into Star Wars. A lot of people like different Facebook groups that's kind of been like the overarching theme as Star Wars has been in the spotlight. Now that we have seen these Marvel figures start to come out, you have felt the tide shift where people are picking up Marvel figures and putting these pre-orders, and when they are, that also means that they might be going back and picking up other Marvel figures that have been released, like maybe like Ant-Man, like they didn't like this Ant-Man, so now they're gonna go pick up the Civil War Ant-Man. So this is an important time where if you are a big Marvel collector and you haven't been selling your Marvel Hot Toys, this is probably good. There's going to be a lot of figures that are going to be coming out from Endgame that you should probably be picking up from an investor and collector's perspective. On the flip side of that, if you are really big into Star Wars and you have been selling your Marvel figures, this might be an important time that you might actually want to take your foot off the gas for maybe like a month or 2 months and let the market kind of continue to rise. It feels like we are going up, and we're going to keep going up in Marvel as more of these figures get announced. So if you have some of those older sought after Marvel figures that people might be looking for, maybe just hang out for a little bit and then use that opportunity when that market continues to go up to then sell some of your Marvel figures and swap into whatever it is, whether it be DC or Star Wars or what have you, and then you sell those Marvel figures to get into it. I don't think you need to offload your Marvel figures now, given how the response that a lot of these figures are getting. Like, responses to this figure have been like off the charts, like very good for Marvel fans. Like, same thing with like Hawkeye, not so much with Ant-Man, but some of these other figures, also not so much with Rocket, but some of these other figures that are coming out, like, this is probably going to be an important time to try and hold out for just a little bit longer if you are kind of over your some of your Marvel figures and you want to swap out of Marvel into another collection. Like, this is probably a good time with all these figures coming out to hold off a little bit, wait for the market to continue to rise in some of these Marvel figures and the demand to continue to pick up, and then unload some of the figures that you no longer want in your collection. Specifically this figure though, This is a pretty good opportunity from an investment perspective, I think. Other Black Widow Hot Toys have not done well, like in the secondary market. Like take this one. This one is like the one from the original Avengers. Like, did not do well, and like similar thing for like the Winter Soldier Black Widow. Like, they didn't do well in the secondary market. I think that's largely attributed though to the fact that the face sculpt just is not there on this one. I don't know if you guys have this figure or what you guys think of this figure. It's just not there on these older ones. And then the rooted hair, I know for me and for a lot of people, a lot of other collectors, it's just not it. Like, it just looks too much like a Barbie doll and just looks too toyish. I don't know why Hot Toys did it for so long. It looks like they might have finally learned that people love sculpted hair. Like, that's been the overarching theme in Star Wars as well. Like, everybody, like, could you imagine Qui-Gon with the rooted hair? Like, it would look ridiculous. So like, that's a good move that they did, sculpted hair on this. And so while the other Black Widows have not done well in the secondary market, this one is probably going to hold its own. It's like, from a lot of people's like favorite MCU movie, whether it be this or Infinity War. Also, Infinity War Black Widow did not do well either. Same issue. That one even looked even more like Barbie doll because it had blonde hair. But this one from an investment perspective is probably going to do fine. I'd imagine that, you're paying like what, $260, $265 all in to pick up this figure. Like, it's probably going to be like a very fair $330 figure. It doesn't have like insane demand. It's not one of the main characters. But like, obviously a lot of people are going to pick up this figure. She is an Avenger. Like, she has her own movie coming out, which is also going to be like very supportive for this figure. And that's another reason why I think this figure will definitely hold its own in an investment perspective. And if you don't have a Black Widow, pick up this Black Widow if you want one, because I think that they basically hit every nail that they could from a collection perspective, and from an investment perspective, you have like some good upside, given that you have her own movie coming out. That's going to be huge for this figure. And like, now that like this Marvel tide is like starting to pick up, like, you're probably going to be safe for, it seems like, a good amount of time where this figure is still like going to be like in demand. So overall, I like this figure. I personally have not pre-ordered this figure yet. I'm probably going to wait for it to come in stock. I'm just not as big into Marvel as I am into Star Wars. I feel like I pick up like almost every Star Wars figure, but Marvel figures I'm much more like picky. And I have scaled down my Marvel collection a bit, although I am slowing down now, and I'm gonna wait and take a look and see how the market does over the next like 2 months for Marvel. But like, I don't think there's a chance that I order this one. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Give me your recommendation on if you guys think I should order this figure. But I haven't yet. But if I do, I'm probably, if I do, it would be to order it with Hawkeye, because I think that would just look so great together. But yeah, so, that's overall just my opinion. Always happy to hear everybody's feedback in the comments, and, just to highlight that, you guys have been awesome in the comment section. Thank you for liking all the videos. Thank you for continuing to comment. It really helps the channel a lot. I started the channel about a month ago now, and we're up to 165 subscribers last time I checked, which is just, fantastic. So, appreciate the support, and, loving the way the direction's going. But yeah, but that's going to wrap everything up. Thank you for tuning in. This is 6 Scale Economist, and we'll see you in the next video.